Ah, hello there friends, welcome. I was just sitting down with a good book and a drop of the good stuff. In fact, I think you might all enjoy this book. Sword of Attila. In fact, let me read some to you. There we go, ready to read. Let me find the right page. Where were we? Yes. There was a commotion by the fire, and Mundiuk turned to watch the shaman and the firewalker use a stick to pull the scapula out of the embers. They doused it with a bucket of water, making it hiss and crackle. The shaman knelt down beside it, muttering to himself, and the other man guided his hand to the flat of the shoulder blade, its surface scorched and covered with fine cracks. For a few minutes the shaman traced his fingers over the bone, reading it as only he knew how, muttering occasionally, raising his sightless eyes towards the heat of the fire, then looking down again. After a final pause, he struggled to his feet, helped by the firewalker. He took his staff and hobbled towards Mundiuk, the whites of his eyes flickering red with the fire. Mundiuk laid the flat of the sword across his shoulder, feeling the wet slick of blood against his neck. "Well, old man?" The shaman raised his hand. "You must take the sword and bury it in the pasture land above the great lake, below the eyries of the eagles. If, when the boy has come of age, a shepherd brings a bull before him with a bleeding leg, the boy will know that the sword has risen, and is waiting him where the bull was injured. If, when he finds it, the blade is burnished and shiny, the edges sharp as if freshly whetted, then the sword is yearning for blood, and he will know his destiny." Another eagle swooped down on high, crying raucously, taking a morsel held up for it by the shaman, and flapping heavily off to the west, bringing in its wake a gust of cold air that drew the flames flickering towards the king. Soon the rest will be following, swooping down to rip away morsels. Mundiuk went to his horse, grasped its mane with his free hand, and leapt on, still holding the sword. One of the women passed the baby back to him, swaddled now, its face cleaned of blood. He held the sword behind him, and with one hand the baby in the air, so that all could see. Every muscle in his body was tensed, and he felt the battle lust surge through him. He stared again into the eyes of his son, at the raw wounds on his cheeks. "You will learn the ways of our people," he said. "You will learn the way of the bow, of the sword, and the lasso of the horse. You will learn the language and the ways of our enemy, not to converse with him, but to learn his tactics and his ways in war, to know how to destroy him. Your army will travel faster than the news of its coming. Only when the rivers run red with the blood of Hun warriors and their lifeblood is extinguished will your conquest cease." The shaman limped up to the horse, his arms stretched out in front of him. Then, finding the reins, he held them, raised his sightless eyes towards the rider. "What will you name him?" Mundiuk stared at the sword that bore an ancient name in their language, a name that few had ever dared speak. Then he stared at the boy again. "You will bear the name of the one who scarred you. You will become one with him. You will not just be a leader in war, you will be the god of war." He raised the boy high and bellowed out the name. "Attila." Jolly good read. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that snippet. I'm off to have some more brandy. Pip pip.